Hello, welcome to a new reading vlog. I'm starting this new reading vlog exactly at the same place I started my previous one because we like this place so much. We came again, and today is a holiday in Japan, so my husband is off and we came together to Kamakura, and we like this place a lot. Today, by the way, the waves are, you see, there's almost no waves, so there is no surfing people surfing. People don't surf today, but there is a lot of windsurfing, so people there on the back, so it's very nice today. Not as sunny, but beautiful. I forgot to introduce you my book. I will introduce you my book with the view of the ocean. I decided to read today Tokyo Ueno Station. It's a short book, so I think I will read it on the train when coming back home, because when we were coming here it was crowded, so I didn't take it out. But I think I will read it today, tomorrow. And it also won National Book Award last year, so I'm excited about this for translated fiction. Should be something really interesting, so I will update you on my reading of this Tokyo Ueno Station. Hello everybody. It is a few days later and I have finally finished reading Tokyo Ueno Station by Yu Miri. I really like this book. I gave it 5 stars out of 5. I also know that it won National Book Award last year, and I personally think that it completely deserves that award. I haven't read obviously other books on the short list or long list, but just after reading this book and liking it so much, I think that it's probably is a deserving winner for the last year National Book Award nomination, translated fiction. Actually, when I started reading it, it immediately reminded me of this book, Familiar Things by Hwang Sok-yong, a Korean writer, because these two books have very similar topics. The main topic of both of them is poverty and people living in poverty and what poverty does to people. It's not an uplifting story, it's not a heartwarming story, it's actually a heartbreaking one. But actually both of these books are wonderful. I read this book I think it was 2020. It was 2020, and I have a reading vlog. I will link it up here if you want to watch. This book is really great. It's about people, primarily about two young boys and their parents living in a landfill site. It's about people at their worst, right, situation. So it's this book. But Tokyo Ueno Station is also very similar. Also, the main topic is poverty and how unfair poverty is. And Yomiuri, she emphasizes this unfairness in a very interesting way. She draws parallels. She draws parallels between our main protagonist Kazu and the emperor. And at the same time, she also kind of shows what Kazu has done in his life and how he's being treated now in his old age, because the book starts pretty much from the very end. We start from the end of his life when he is living in Ueno Park in Tokyo as a homeless person, living in this makeshift cardboard hut and eating leftovers from the restaurants located around the park. So we find Kazu in this situation, but actually we find him even later because the narrator, Kazu himself, is a ghost in this book, a ghost haunting Ueno Park, and he looks back on his life and he tells us about his life and what had led him to this type of life. He also listens to conversations of people. So what I found interesting is her storytelling, because he kind of listens to conversations of people in the park, and then at this end he hears something and then he starts reminiscing about his life, like, oh, these people are like this, but in my life that's what I did. So it's kind of, you know, the conversations that he overhears, they lead the narrative. I also like that the main protagonist in this book is made a ghost, because homeless people, they play an important part in this book. They play a big part here, and Kazu was homeless by the end of his life. So I think this comparison of homeless people to ghosts is very smart and clever, because when you look at it, these people, they are kind of ghosts even in life, because we don't notice them, we don't look at them, we don't pay attention to them, right? We kind of try to avoid them. You know, they're unseen. They're unseen because nobody wants to see them, because people are afraid to see them. So they are ghosts. They are pretty much ghosts even in life, and I think that this comparison is really smart and clever. The book is very short. I don't know how she does it, because she managed to fit like Kazu's whole life in this book, and I feel like I know his life, I know him. After I finished reading it, I went back and I reread certain moments from it, because I just enjoyed her writing. I think her writing is beautiful and I like it. I want to read you the very beginning of the book just to introduce you to her writing. It's not flowery, it's very straightforward, it's very simple, but it's in a way powerful. So I want to read a small episode to you from the very beginning, so you will meet Kazu and at the same time you will know what she writes like. So she writes, "There is that sound again, that sound. I hear it, but I don't know if it's in my ears or in my mind. I don't know if it's inside me or outside. I don't know when it was or who it was either. Is that important? Was it? Who was it? I used to think life was like a book. You turn the first page and there is the next. And as you go on, turning page after page, eventually you reach the last one. But life is nothing like a story in a book. There may be words, and the pages may be numbered, but there is no plot. There may be an ending, but there is no end. Left behind, like a sculpted tree on the vacant land where a rotted house has been torn down, like the water in a vase after wilted flowers have been removed, left behind. But then, what of me remains here? A sense of tiredness. I was always tired. There was never a time I was not tired. Not when life had its claws in me, and not when I escaped from it. I didn't live with intent, I only lived. But that's all over now. I watch slowly, like always. It's not the same scene, but it's similar. Somewhere in this dull scene, there is pain. In this seemingly familiar time, there are moments that hurt. I look closer. There are lots of people, each and every one different, each and every one with different minds, different faces, bodies, and hearts. I know that, of course, but seen from a distance, they all look just the same or similar. Each and every face looks nothing so much as a small pool of water. I'm watching for myself on the day I first set foot on the platform at Ueno station, in the throng of people waiting for the Yamanote Line inner loop train to arrive. I used to look at my appearance reflected in mirrors, glasses, paints, and pictures, and I had no confidence in myself. I do not think I was especially ugly, but I never had the kind of looks that would have attracted anyone's attention. My reticence and incompetence troubled me more than my appearance, but worst of all was how unlucky I was. So that's her writing. You can already tell that it's kind of straightforward and simple, not really flowery, but there is some power in it, and I don't know, I like it. It just draws you. It draws you into the story. It's hypnotizing in a way. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book, really liked it, and I would highly recommend it to you, as well as Familiar Things, because these two are, not similar in the plot, but similar in topic, and both of them are very powerful. So Familiar Things I would also recommend if you want to read something on this topic. I will continue with A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. I'm currently on page 60, so I still have a long way to go. I will finish this vlog when I finish this book. I like the healthy, kind of warm relationship of the family. Even though they're poor, even though their father is good for nothing, but they still love him, he still loves them. Of course, he is struggling, he is drinking, but they still love him, they still, I don't know. So the main protagonist, Francie here, she is like, I like Papa better than Mama. It's nice to see such warm and like good family relationship, at least so far, like in the first 60 pages. So yeah, I will continue with this book and I will update you later. Hello everybody. So I am reading A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. This book has quite a bit of humor actually. It's not as sweet as Anne of Green Gables. I honestly don't know why I always compare this book to Anne of Green Gables or Heidi. Like, it's not. Those books are for children. I feel like this book is not for children. I think it's for older people. So basically, it has some humor too. So in the part that I'm reading currently, it's about Francis' second aunt, Eliza or Eliza, maybe Eliza. And so she's a nun, right? And so Francie, she has just had her second communion and she became very serious about church, and she's like, maybe I would like to be a nun. And so she was about to meet her aunt, and that's what happens. I will read you. So she awaited Sister Ursula's coming with excitement. Just think of it, an aunt who was a nun. What an honor. But when Sister Ursula stooped to kiss her, Francie saw that she had a fine fringe of hair on her upper lip and chin. This frightened Francie into believing that hair grew on the faces of all nuns who entered the convent at a tender age. Francie decided against sisterhood. I don't know. Isn't it funny? I think it's funny. I've just now read the part where Katie gave birth to Francis, or her first child, and she was talking to her mom, and she was asking her mom, like, what should I do? How should I bring up the baby? We don't have any money. What can we do? And her mom is such a sweet woman, such a lovely woman. She gave so much good advice about what she should teach the girl, about how she can save up money, and she told about her story and how unlucky she was. She saved up for a land 2 times, and 2 times she lost the money, and she is saving again. Such a sweet woman, and like there is so much good advice and good thought in what she was saying to the girl. I really liked this part. I will not be reading you like all of this because it's a lot, it's a few pages, but I just, if you read this part, I think you know which part I mean, and I think you remember that advice. I really liked their conversation and what the mother told. I don't know, it's just so good, you know, it feels so good and so right, and I really liked this part. I start to like this book a lot now because of this woman, because of their mother. She was called a saint before, and now she really is. Even though she cannot read, she didn't go to school, she has no education, but she knows a lot of stories. She knows a lot about life. She kind of just understands it, I guess, and she has learned a lot from her life, and it's, yeah, I really like this part. Hello everybody. Guess where I am? I am at the bus stop. I'm waiting for my bus to take me to Haneda Airport. I was actually going to make it a different, like a separate vlog, but I still haven't finished reading Three Crows in Brooklyn, so I decided I will just unite everything in one vlog. I'm going to Russia for 1.5 months to visit my parents, because it just so happened that I have January, February and March free for myself. So I decided that it's the time to finally go to Russia. So that's, yeah. If you're watching this video, it means I'm already with my parents at home. And let's have this trip together, because I'm very nervous because of this corona situation and like all the corona restrictions. I'm very nervous, like, will Japan allow me back in? I hope, but I don't know. But yeah, let's have this trip to my bus came. Okay, I will take you along. Let's go.
This was for the broken heart, lame, the weak, too afraid to start the dreams that only came to pass them by. Here's to the broken man who stood and walked when he heard you can, 'cause it shows me that faith is more than sight. Here's to the wandering child looking for a star to guide, pushing through the darkness of the night. Hold your hand up to your heart and know it's just a chance to start. I know that it might feel like it's too hard. Time to watch, grab a hand and make this day our march. Pulling down the walls we cross, fighting through the wars we lost, looking for the day when we have won. Oh, love is where you are. Just
Just have a look at this wonderful sunrise. In life, the colors are even darker and more intense, and it's just so, so beautiful. That red color, it's like pinkish, dark pink slash red, like scarlet slash pink, something like that. Oh, it is beautiful. Beautiful sunrise. Everybody, hello, I'm home. This is my, like, you know, my and my brother's room. I'm home with my parents. I figured out that they have a very interesting library, which I forgot. I mean, I knew that they, I mean, obviously I knew that they have books, but I just forgot like what kind of books those books were. And I have just asked my father like if he would agree to tell you about the books. Well, he would obviously talk about the books in Russian. I would just translate what he said like with English subtitles. I don't know if he agrees because he is usually like very shy. I think he will not agree, to be honest. If he doesn't agree, I will just film myself and I will just make a video and tell about the books myself. But for now, while I'm waiting for his answer, I decided that I want to show you some of our like photos, because actually just one album, not without my parents, just like my album, because I found it and I thought it was like, oi, a little bit dark. And I thought it was actually interesting because it's from a trip that I made with my art school, because it's for children. It's not like anything like high level art school, just like, you know, for children, like school age children, just to teach them a little bit, like, you know, how to draw and stuff. So it wasn't anything serious, but it just was a very good experience in my life. I had very just wonderful teachers. That I just was blessed with my teachers in my art school, and teachers like in regular school as well, actually. So, and also I was blessed with my classmates because they also were really wonderful. And so I found this photo album, and I don't know, I just really like some photos here, so I wanted to show you some. Okay, let's do it this way. I hope it will work. So those are the books. Those are the bookshelves that I want like my father to tell you about. The photos that I want to show you. We went to this small town in Moscow region. It's called Pereslavl-Zalesky. I will put some pictures here. It's a very old Russian town. Alexander Nevsky was born there. Alexander Nevsky is one of our like old princes, knyaz. We call them knyazya. So it's a very old town and it's very beautiful. It has a lot of churches, it has a lot of monasteries, and so the architecture in the town is just mind-blowing. It's very historical. I love it. I think it's like my second favorite town in Russia that I have visited. Well, second after my hometown, obviously, because my hometown takes the first place. So the photos that I want to show you. Okay, so this is like the group that went with me. So this is my teacher, my art teacher. These are all like students who came because our group was very small. I will show pictures that are closer like a little bit later. So this is like the town, this is the, like Pereslavl-Zalesky Kremlin, and you see like it's very old. It's all the like walls and the churches. So this is not a monastery, this is just the Kremlin. Because Kremlin is just like a old town. That's where the town started. Because, right, it's like a fortress, right? Because towns before used to be fortresses. So that's what Kremlin is. And many towns in Russia have their own Kremlin, because many towns in Russia started with being just, you know, a fortress. Oh, this is beautiful gate. like entrance to the Kremlin. Beautiful. What I wanted to, so this was us taking pictures here. This is me, this is my friend Irina, and then the guy also friend. It was really good. Like, I was really lucky with like my classmates and people who went with us. It's like one of the brightest memories of my childhood. Like, yeah, brightest memories from my school years, I would say. Like this trip to Pereslavl-Zalesky with my art school, because we visited historical places, but plus we also were drawing and painting, and it was just so much fun. I found this photo album and I'm like, this was actually a great, wonderful experience. You see, that's the church. This is my teacher. This is another church in the monastery. I really like all the like old architecture of the place. Pereslavl-Zalesky, if you're ever in Moscow, you should take a bus and go there. It's a wonderful small town, insanely beautiful, and I just really want to go there again one day. You can take, you know, it's included into the Golden Ring of Russia. So if you take the trip of Golden Ring of Russia, they will probably take you to Pereslavl-Zalesky. Like, I don't know, I'm 80% sure they will take you to Pereslavl-Zalesky. Maybe it depends on the tour, but my mom and me, we also took this tour once, and there was Pereslavl-Zalesky. So you can, if you're ever in Russia, you can do it that way. You can go there that way. So this is like more some old churches. Again, my teacher. Okay, what else? Oh. I don't know what we were doing and why we were doing it. So basically, I know this was the river with the boat. I don't know, I think I actually like this picture. I think it's kind of nice. And then the next picture. That's me. Oh, that's me. That's my friend holding me, because for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason I needed the boat. I don't know why. He's just like kind of standing, I don't know, I don't remember what he was saying, but I think this picture is kind of funny. I don't know why I needed the boat, but I needed it. So yeah, the girl's name, by the way, is Katya, and she is very talented girl. Like, she was so good at painting and drawing, and she later on went to become a designer, I think. I was not very good. I just enjoyed like the process. I really liked like talking to people, you know, but I just liked the process of it. But I wasn't bad, I wasn't good. I was just like, you know, average. But I really enjoyed the process. She was really good. She was so good. Okay, so this is like all of our group. This is my teacher's sister. And this is like all of us, the kids who went. The room actually in which we lived was very like super simple, not like really old furniture, really old room. Everything is really old, but who cares? Who cares? We could sleep, we could take shower, and we could eat, and that's like all we needed. You see how like the building itself was actually quite old, like all of us standing in our balconies. Okay, so that's like, I think this is like the only picture of us actually like painting. So we were sitting on these chairs and painting the church, and this is Katya. So yeah, I think maybe it's the only picture of us like actually painting. Rostov is a different city, but also very old. So that's like a Kremlin. I think it's Kremlin. I think it's Rostov Kremlin. Very beautiful architecture. I really like this old Russian architecture. I think that's it. Okay. So you see, I was very, when you come home and you start finding all your old photos, all your old, like, oh, it's already falling apart. You start reminiscing about your old days and old life. Actually, this was a very good trip. I was very lucky to go on this trip. So yeah, I hope you liked a small trip down the memory lane with me in my childhood. So yeah, some of my photos. So we will see. I hope my father agrees to tell you about all those books, because his library is actually quite good. I came and I just looked at all the books and I'm like, you have a very good library. He's like, I know. Yesterday I read till page 200. Exactly 200 of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Still loving this book, still wonderful. I don't know, I really like it. But also I started another one. It's this one, it's a Russian book. It's written by Boris Archimandrit. Archimandrit. He's I will write here the word in English. And he wrote a book about his experiences as a young man and how he found his way to being a monk, to the monastery, to this like religious life and stuff like that. And this book is actually was insanely popular when I was still living in Russia. I think I was finishing either university or maybe school. They printed 1,100,000 copies of this book, so you can tell how hugely popular it was. And I can tell why. It's very interesting to read. I enjoy his writing, like the way he writes. He just talks about his life, his experience, how he found out that he wants to go to the monastery, how he found out that he actually wants to be a monk. And he talks about all the people who lived in the monastery when he joined it, and it's so interesting. It's very interesting. I think it could be considered just a memoir. So I don't really read it as like a religious literature. I just read it as literature, you know, just to learn about these people, how they live, how they find out who they are, what they want to do, how they find out that they want to dedicate their life to God and stuff like that. And and all of them are. He talks about quite famous religious people. Yeah, his stories are really fascinating, and his writing style is very simple, just very simple, very straight. He just shares his life, and it's so easy to read. It has a lot of humor in it. It has also some serious, a little like serious conversations in it. I don't know, I just really like this book. I read it before and I just came in and I just remembered it, and I know that my mom has a copy and I decided I wanted to reread it. So I'm now on page 45 rereading this book. So I will be reading like 2 books at a time. So yeah, these are my plans. I don't know when I will finish this vlog. I don't know when I will finish this vlog. After I finish this book, but I need to finish it first. I will finish the vlog. So yeah, let's read, and I will come back to you with something else when I have something else to share with you. Hello everybody. Today is morning and my mom and I we are going to a church and the weather outside is just magical. I will show you outside and you will see how magical it is because I don't know what it's, I think it's called hoarfrost. Hoarfrost. I will check the word. I'm not sure what's the English word for it. Russian word is ini and everything is just white and it's magical. It's magical. I will show you outside. Oh, it's beautiful. So let's go out and let's have a walk. Hello everybody. Tomorrow I'm going to meet my friend. Finally. We haven't met in many years. I think even more than maybe 4. We do chat once in a while, but not very often. And so when I was coming to Russia, I just texted her that I'm coming and that I would like to come to her and like meet her again. And she said like, sure, come. And so tomorrow I'm going. She lives in a different city. So she lives in a Tyumen. The city is called Tyumen. So I will go to her hometown. It's actually quite a big city. So yeah, I'm excited. I will take you along. I think we will go somewhere. She wants to bring me somewhere, so I will also take you along. And yeah, I hope it's gonna be great. I am sure I will not be reading much. I'm sure I will not be reading at all. I will take some books just in case, but I will not read. But yeah, so I'm excited. Let's go. Everybody, hello.
Hello.
I am in Tyumень with my friend Christina.
Nice to meet you.
And she brought me to this very interesting place. It's a lady. She came up with this business idea. So she bought the land in the woods and she built all of those like small houses. Can you see that small houses on the back? And there's a lot of them here. And then you can rent a house. You come here, rent a house, and spend a weekend or evening or I don't know, celebrate wedding or something here. And it's really nice in the woods. Now it's a little bit cold, that's why I'm wearing two scarves. But the view is really beautiful. I will show you around and it's just really nice. Okay, I will show you around. We are very hungry. We are going there, upstairs, to have some lunch. Let's go. Нет, я не буду это выкладывать. Я как-то не грациозно поднимаюсь. Все, выключай. Вообще не грациозно. Hello everybody. This vlog turned out to be really long. To be honest, it is May. Did you see the trees outside? They're green. That's because it's May. To be honest, I haven't been filming and I haven't been reading in the past few months, starting from the end of February. You can guess why. I started slowly getting back into reading on the end of April. And so yeah, now it is May and I have finished reading Everyday Science by Archimandrit Tikhon. I don't know how comfortable you will be with me recommending it. That is why let's just agree that you're a free person. I know that a lot of you come from different religions, and if you don't feel comfortable listening to me talking about this book, because of course it's written by Archimandrit, Russian Archimandrit, so it's going to be about Orthodox Christianity and people believing in in this religion. So I don't want to impose anything on you. I do not want to like convert you. I don't want to like anything. I just want to share a book that I loved. But if you don't feel comfortable listening to my experience with this book and just listening about this book, feel free to skip. Feel free to go to the part where I will be talking about A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. No hard feelings. So with this small disclaimer, let's talk about this book. The English title is Everyday Saints and Other Stories. I really enjoyed it. I read it when I was in school. I don't think I finished reading it because it's not a novel. It's a collection of short stories, of episodes from his life, stories about people he met, his own experiences. I finished it now, and oh my god, how much I loved it. To be honest, like when you think about it, you don't really expect a book written by a monk to be like entertaining, to be engaging, to be engrossing. Like maybe it's just me, maybe these are just my personal prejudice. I was just like very skeptical about all kind of books written by religious people and like monks and priests. And I like normally I would not expect from a book to be anything like relatable. I didn't expect it to be engrossing and entertaining, but this book was. This book was everything. It was relatable, it was entertaining, it is so humorous. There is so much humor in this book. Like every story is breathing with humor, and I love it. There is self-irony, there is humor about other people and just situations. It makes book relatable, it makes book accessible, and it makes reader to want to continue reading it. At least that's how it was in my experience. The first quality of this book is that it's super entertaining. Generally speaking, I would say that it's a book about finding God, kind of your way to God, how multiple different, drastically different ways people find him, sometimes lose him, but then continue looking, or maybe don't continue looking. I think like kind of the main overarching theme of all of these stories is that looking for God, finding him, living with him, or losing him. People described in this book are all very different. There is a story about Sergei Bondarchuk. Sergei Bondarchuk is a very famous Russian movie director. He directed War and Peace, one of very few Russian movies that has ever won Oscar. So Sergei Bondarchuk, there is a story about him, how he came to religion. There is a story about a thief, like a very adventurous, I guess, and a very inventive, super inventive thief. There are stories about monks living in the monastery. Something I liked is that normally, at least like in my experience, books that I have read, there are very few, about like monasteries and monks and priests, they often showed these people as kind of flawed. So which of course they are, but they would normally show you how monks are, I don't know, sleeping with women in the monastery, or they would show how monks are stealing money or something like that, and which of course books should talk about it. But I think that among monks and priests there are also deeply religious people, people who truly believe in God, people who truly want to live with him. And this book showed them. This book showed monks and priests who are truly religious. And while they are flawed, and some of them do some like really funny things, or maybe sometimes, I don't know, quirky things, but there were no dirt, you know? Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to read about dirt. I don't know, I don't always want to read books about kind of dark and dirty corners of human soul. Sometimes I want to read a book about pure souls. I want to read a book about people who could be taken as an example of how to behave, how to believe, how to love. And this book was very often that. There are different stories here, very different, but mostly it's a hugely positive book, and a lot of stories here about truly exemplary people. It starts like the first few stories will be about monks living in the monastery where he came as a young man. And they were talking about these people, how he saw them, because when he came to the monastery they've already been established old elderly gentlemen with special kind of spiritual gifts, we call them. So some of them could see into the future, some of them could treat people, some of them were just very wise, and he described them as this. What I also liked is that he told here his own story, because when he was a young man he was actually a student at VGIK. VGIK is a Russian, very famous, like #1 university for those who wants to work in the film industry, for those who wants to be movie directors, screenplay writers, actors. So all of these people, they go to VGIK. And it's a very difficult university to enter. Like the competition there is wild. It's very difficult. And he got into this university. He studied there, he graduated it. His teachers were some of the best actors and directors and writers of the time. And he was very successful. He had very bright future ahead of him. He had a very beautiful girlfriend. He was just, everything was going to be perfect in his life. Like if he just, you know, if he wanted to continue living just a civil life, everything was perfect. He didn't need to go to the monastery. But he did. He went. He came once to this monastery and something, I don't know, the way he describes it, he just felt something that like kind of, this is the place I belong, this is the place where I should be, and he stays. He gives up everything. His relationship with his girlfriend kind of just evaporated, kind of just ended by itself. And then he gives up his career in the movie industry and he comes to the monastery and he becomes like very first, the lowest rank of a monk. Not even a monk yet, you know, they have kind of training period, I'm not sure what it's called in English, training period before they become monks, and you know, kind of to test themselves and understand that they truly want it, that they really want. So he becomes that, and as this trainee in the monastery, he has to clean the stable for cows, he has to clean the square in the monastery. Like he does just a very, you know, manual, simple, not very pleasant job. And like, why would you give up everything you've ever worked for to do that for a very long time? You see, these are very different people with some kind of new understanding, new feelings, and at the same time you understand that this is not some random dude who is just, you know, came to the monastery because he had nowhere to go. He came there because it was his decision. It was an actual decision that he made because he realized something, he felt something. He had a bright future in front of him, and it wasn't just his story. All of his friends that he talks about here, all of them, they were very educated. All of them had bright future in front of them. Some of them were mathematicians, some of them were engineers, some of them were artists and writers. All of these young men, they had place to go, they had things to do, they had a very bright future in front of them, and yet they give up all of it to join a monastery and to clean up after cows. These are just very different people I personally have never met. I have never met such people who would give up their lives, like literally, actually give up their lives for something they believe in, something they feel is right. That was also what I liked about this book, a different type of people whom I have never met, have never talked to, and haven't read about, to be honest. That was a big part of what I liked about this book. And when you read these short stories, you actually understand that they are normal. They are normal. Because something else I personally, I think it's my prejudice, it's very often my prejudice about like super religious people who are just very, very religious. Sometimes it's like they feel unrelatable to me. Because I met a few like very religious people. Yeah, they felt maybe a little bit strange to me. Yeah, they felt strange to me, and it was hard for me to kind of communicate with them, you know? I don't know if you know what I mean. It's not like I had any enmity towards them, but I just didn't feel comfortable maybe next to them, you know? I felt strange. I don't know if it was because of their personal qualities or was it, but they just were constantly talking about kind of religion, and I was not very comfortable with that. This book is hugely relatable. He does talk about religion, he does talk about kind of God, but he talks about him in such a deeply human manner. You know, he acknowledges people's mistakes, he acknowledges his own mistakes, he acknowledges that something has been done wrong, and all of it is done with so much humor, understanding, and simplicity. And then I just look at them in this book, and I understand that all of them are normal people. And I actually could talk to them, and I actually could approach them, and I maybe even would feel comfortable talking to them, you know. So I guess you can say that this book kind of treated some of my own prejudices and some of my own misunderstandings. One more part that I liked is stories of people's spiritual journeys, which are all hugely different, but all of them are very valuable. After reading this book, I kind of thought, you know what, God does exist. He does exist. And this book made me kind of think maybe more about it and kind of start taking this thing more seriously, and at least start learning about it. If you acknowledge that God exists, it means that there will be time when you will have to present yourself to him, and you better present yourself in like a little bit better state than you normally are. I don't know. It's kind of what I was thinking to myself, but I don't know. I cannot talk about God, like I cannot talk about these things like religion, because it's all very new to me. I've never talked about it, because you see, like in Russia, actually, very few people go to church. Very few people are religious. It's getting better, but can you imagine, our country has been under communist rule for 70 years. And during the 70 years, religion was just very brutally suppressed, eradicated. People could be killed, like literally killed, for being Christian. A lot of priests were killed, and monks as well. Now, of course, religion is allowed, but after 70 years of eradicating it, you can imagine what state the country is in. Mostly people are not religious. They can come to church, they can burn candles there, maybe stand for a short time, but then leave. That's what I was doing. This book got me interested. It kind of told me that, hey, maybe you should start paying attention to this. Maybe think about it. But it did it in a very friendly manner. It did it kind of in a very not intrusive, I don't know if it's the correct word here, you know. It wasn't, what I'm trying to say, I guess, it wasn't pushy, it wasn't dogmatic, it wasn't like, you should do this, you know. It wasn't like that. I don't know, it was kind of very friendly, user-friendly, beginner-friendly. It also has a lot of photos. It has so many photos of life from the monastery and people, like so it has stories of all the characters in the monastery. Monastery itself, people that he talks about in this book. A lot of photos. You are reading a book and watching a photo album at the same time. The main point of all of it is that I really enjoyed this book. I think it was hugely pleasant to read, fun to read, engrossing, and I actually wanted to read it. So I didn't have to push myself through this book, which is a rare occasion. I often have to push myself through certain parts in the books, and this was an exception, so that was great. So yeah, love this book. I still have a little bit left of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, so I will finish this book very soon. I am enjoying it. There was one part where I had to push through, but I've done it and I like it again now. But I will talk about this book as a whole in my last clip, so I will see you there. Hello everybody. Finally, after 5 months, starting from January, and today is 14th of May, I think. After 5 months, I have finished reading A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I have to say, it's not because I didn't enjoy the book. It's just because of like me and the life kind of situation that has been happening. So in January, I came to Russia after like 4 years of not being here and not seeing my parents in person. So obviously I wasn't reading much at that time, and then the tragedy in Ukraine happened, and when it happened I started like watching news and just watching and watching and watching, and I couldn't concentrate on anything but that. So it's not because of the book, it's because of me and the life currently. The book I actually really enjoyed. If you asked me to describe it in just one word, I would say quiet. I think this word quiet perfectly encapsulates the feel of the book. There aren't really any huge events that would stir your emotions like too greatly. It's just life with just people, their struggles, their ups and downs, their loves and their hates, their difficulties and some of their happy moments. It's just life as it is. Life in Brooklyn in the beginning of the 1900s. It's a story of a small Brooklyn family, parents and their 2 children. The parents struggle to make ends meet, and they struggle to put food on their table, like literally put food on the table for themselves and for children. The couple is very different. Father is good for nothing, but it does not prevent him from being a great dad to his children, because he genuinely loves them. And if there is anything good that he taught them, it's that he taught them to dream, and he taught them the importance of dreaming. Their mother, on the other side, she is very grounded, she is very strong, she makes things work. The family has food on the table mostly because of her, and she on her part teaches children the importance of staying grounded and keeping their feet on the ground. It's a story of growing up in a poor neighborhood in difficult circumstances and trying, nevertheless trying to find your way in life, your way to happiness and to achieving the dreams that you have. It is said to be a semi-autobiographical novel, and to be honest, to me it felt a little bit like a time capsule. I don't know, do you have this notion, like in English, I think, probably, right? So time capsule. Take things, for example, from that surround you now, and then you kind of put them in a box or somewhere, and then you kind of put them underground or somewhere, and then like people, generations after you, for example, find this box and they go through things, and you know, they find all of these old things that were part of life before. So that's kind of the idea of time capsule. In Russia, I think like some years ago it was like a big thing, or at least I was hearing a lot about it. So this novel felt to me like a time capsule, when you take this capsule and you open it up and you slowly go through all these old fascinating things that you have never like saw in person, or you didn't really like touch them, haven't ever like hold them in your hand. And they're so fascinating because they're real things from life back then that you have never seen with your eyes. So that's how this book felt to me. It felt, yeah, like I'm seeing that life like almost in person, like I'm holding it in my hands and you know, it's unfolding, you know, in my hands in front of my eyes. I don't know, it felt like a time capsule like going through these old things. In this book you see how you kind of see the history unfold. I mean, like the history in a like global process, I guess, because what I mean by that is that you see how every generation builds its life on lives of the previous generation. So basically life with every new generation gets better and better. Every new generation gets more and more opportunities. So for example, we have this mother who comes with her husband from Austria. Neither of them can read, neither of them can write. Her daughters, Katie and her sisters, they already can read, they already can write, they, you know, they are more educated, but for example they have never been to college. And then we go to the new generation, Francie, who is already going to school, who has the opportunity to go to college, and like all of it is possible only because the previous generation did some sacrifices, because the previous generation worked hard. So you kind of see with your own eyes how every generation builds its life, rooting itself on the achievements of the previous generation. And it's just, it is so visible. It really makes you appreciate your family and what your family has done for you, and what like your parents have done for their like it. You see a family as a history. I don't know how to explain it. You can see the whole historical process through the family, and it makes you appreciate your family. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. In terms of emotions, this book was everything. This book was sad, but also it had a lot of happy moments. It was ugly in some episodes, but overall it was beautiful, heartbreaking, but also comforting and cozy. It made me laugh, but it also made me cry. So this book is everything, and I think it just shows how great it is when a book has all of these things, and it can make you feel all of these emotions. I think it's a sign of a great book. I have to say that at some point I got a little bit bored with it, like closer to the like second, almost to the closer to the end. I kind of started getting a little bit bored with it. But to be honest, I do not know if it's because of the book or is it because of me like not being in the mood for reading, not wanting to read, and just, you know, not being able to concentrate on a book with like everything. I don't know if it was me or if it was the book. So yeah, take it with like a pinch of salt, that like I don't really know what it was. But there was a moment when I didn't want to read it. Yeah, but I pushed through, and then the ending, I loved it again. So yeah, I don't know what it was. Another thing I want to say is that Francie, let's talk a little bit about characters. Francie, the main character, the girl, the daughter of the family, she's a very relatable child. She's a very relatable character, I think, especially for girls. She's dreamy, but she's also like talented, and she is hardworking. She's ready to work for her dreams. She's also clumsy. Sometimes she does some clumsy things, and I think everybody can relate to that clumsiness, especially when you're a teenager, when you're a child doing something like, why did I do that? So Francie is a great protagonist. Her mother Katie, I think she was like, in terms of character, like personality, I think she was my favorite because of how strong she was, how grounded she was, how she had a very strong sense of what is right and what is wrong, and she behaved right. She always chose like the right thing to do and the right thing to behave, and she did. Of course she's not perfect. Like, for example, she cannot help herself, but she just loves her son more than she loves her daughter. She loves her daughter but she has, I guess, just tender feelings towards her son. And of course, like, it's not a good thing of a mother to feel. And Francie feels it, she knows it, that her mom cares, I guess, more about her brother. But then on the other hand, I think that she just saw how talented, she once said it, that I know that you're very talented, I know that you will make a life for yourself, and I just don't see it in, like, in my son. I think that he needs more help from me. There can be that explanation. That's the explanation that she gave to her daughter. So she has some also, like, questionable parts of her character, but overall she is just a very strong-headed, independent, strong, and just the right good person. Who wants to teach her children the best. Her mother once gave her this advice that you have to read with your children 1 chapter from the Bible every night before sleep, and 1 chapter or like some episode from Shakespeare. And she's been doing it her children's whole life. Before sleep, Bible, Shakespeare, Bible, Shakespeare, her whole life. Like, the consistency, the determination of making her children succeed in this tough environment when she has no money to actually give them education or anything, but she is determined to do that no matter what, and I really loved her determination. There's another character, her sister, her name is Cece. Cece I also really liked. Like, reading parts about Cece in this book were my favorite parts, because this woman is just the celebration. She's the celebration of life. She's the celebration of humanity with its questionable I would say just questionable things and characters, but at the same time, on the other hand, some very humane things, you know, love and understanding and motherhood, because Cece is the mother. She's mother to everybody, to like almost everybody in this book. She has a very questionable side to her, which you will know if you read this book. But honestly, Cece is just a celebration of life to me. She's a celebration of life and a celebration of humanity, and I love her, and parts about her in this novel were my favorite to read, because they were funny but also reassuring, you know. I don't know, I really liked her. I recommend this novel to everybody of all ages, like children, teenagers, adults, everybody. I think everybody will enjoy it and everybody will relate to it and just find comfort in it. I think that if you are in a need of friend, if you are in a need of comfort, this book is a way to go for you. I think it will give you the comfort. It will also give you tears. It will also give you some pain, but then it will be cured by some, you know, heartwarming episodes and love, friendship and everything. So yeah, if you want a book about just real life with real people, with their ups and downs, people who are sometimes weak, sometimes strong, but always loving, always kind, honest and heartwarming, I think this book is for you. I think you will enjoy it. So yeah, I like this book, even though I've been reading it for 5 months, but like I said, it's not because of the book, it's because of life. I like this book, I enjoyed it. I don't know how soon I will be rereading it, but I will reread it at some point in my life, hopefully. Yeah, really liked it, really enjoyed it, highly recommend it. So finally, after 5 months, which have been crazy, I'm finishing the vlog finally. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found some book recommendations from it. I hope you are staying safe. Thank you very much for watching. Let's all pray for Ukraine. Let's all pray for Russia too. And I will see you in my next video, and I hope it will be sooner than in 5 months. So yeah, stay safe, and I hope you are all doing well, and I will see you soon. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.